guys, today we're talking about Wonder Woman 1984. So, when the movie was coming out, I was talking about how this movie was a flop. It is actually a flop. It lost money at the box office. There's no way to get around that. There's no way HBO Max would have recovered the losses. Same thing of Cruella on Disney Plus. But is this movie bad or good? That is the question. And I didn't hate this movie at all. Just like Justice League. Everybody hated the Justice League movie. I didn't hate it. I thought it was a fine movie. Everybody hates Justice League for its CGI mostly, and its worst character arcs, which again, Zack Snyder's Justice League kind of fixed the whole issues with the original Justice League as well. All it was an edited and extended version of Justice League with more character development and everything else, what people wanted out of Justice League movie. But is this? I think that the problem with all the problems of this movie can really stem from the COVID-19 delays. They made this. This movie would have probably been better if there was no COVID-19. A lot of these movies that were delayed are not really being received that well. Well, okay, for example, you know, we haven't really had many movies that were delayed by COVID-19 that were actually bad so far, but there were a few that were just absolute failures. Okay, and we're not talking about In the Heights, but I wonder what Black Widow is gonna be like. Okay, I wonder what that movie is gonna be like. But yep, basically the first part of the movie is about her being a kid, and she has to, learn how to be strong, and of course she cheats, so she doesn't get to do it, and she learns her lesson that she can't always win, and she eventually will win because in the world that they live in, they're basically immortal, so they can basically do whatever they want. They have all the time in the universe to do whatever they want. But basically, and then she did as an adult, and she found it. They find this rock where you can basically wish for anything you want, kind of like the Dragon Balls, and the rock can basically make you wish for whatever you want. So of course, she brings back her boyfriend, which sets off the bad things overall in the future of the movie. Again, this plot is very similar to Dragon Ball. And one of the main villains of the movie, which is, Cheetah, who is basically the girl, she basically wants to be like her, and she wishes to be like her, essentially. And she basically becomes the same power as Wonder Woman in the movie. And she says, I'm just as powerful as you. And then she falls in love with the rich billionaire who is Maxwell Ward, who is basically making fun of every billionaire rich person ever, not just a certain orange man, probably others like Jeff Bezos and, of course, Elon Musk. It's just probably like every billionaire, because most billionaires probably just want more and more power, especially the ones who read Google, Facebook, Twitter, and many other social media sites, which most of them are run by billionaires. Considering there's hundreds of billionaires in the world, it's most likely there's probably tons of billionaires that like him. And basically, most people go, yeah, these are mostly lots of billionaires. All they really want is power. But I think that's why people hate this movie, because they made the comparisons to a certain orange man, and of course people didn't like it. According to Google, the reasons people dislike the movie, it was boring. It was definitely less boring than Captain Marvel. Overhyped, corny, overrated. It can really be overrated, forgettable, cringeworthy, slow, unconvincing plot holes and cliche. The movie is a bit long. I think that's the problem with this movie. The movie is a bit long, and that's why I don't think it's the masterpiece like the first movie. But this movie is not a bad movie. It's just, this could have been put there. Problem is, they could have made a set. There's just two. But there's two it's kind of like Godzilla vs. Kong was released later, but Godzilla vs. Kong got all of its major plots down within a more reasonable time. And I think that's the problem of this movie, is this movie just goes on for far too long. This movie goes on for far too long, and I think that's the problem with this movie. If you compare this to, let's just say, another HBO movie, another Warner Bros. HBO Max movie, and then of course is Godzilla vs Kong. Godzilla vs Kong got its movie got it's a very similar movie. There's two major plot lines in the Godzilla vs Kong. There's the Kong and Godzilla plot line. There's the Mecha Godzilla plot line. But then you also have those plot lines. They got done within 2 hours. Wonder Woman 1984 has the Cedar and Maxwell plot line, and there's of course the Wonder Woman plot line, and of course her boyfriend coming back and stuff. Though they got that done within 2 hours and 40 minutes. Why is Godzilla vs Kong much shorter, despite it being better and thus overall much more concise than this movie? This movie is, I think, too long. I think if they got, I know they usually make the superhero movies at least 2 hours long, but they could have at least cut like 20 or so minutes from this movie, and basically made it a much more concise movie instead of just making it so long as well. I think that's the only major criticism of this movie is the length of the movie. Okay, Infinity War and Endgame are different. Those movies are supposed to be long. Say if you have the Lord of the Rings trilogy, those movies are supposed to be long. But I'm talking about movies like this and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is super long, and it kind of gets boring at some points. Same thing with this movie, and same with The Last Jedi. All of these movies are very long, and you can really see the most decisive movies are longer movies. Okay, I know not all long movies are bad, but if a movie is longer, people tend to lose interest in the movie, and this is one of those movies where it seems that has happened. That's why the people didn't like the movie. It has a 5.4 on IMDb and a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes, which means a majority of the critics did like the movie, but it's not too far from the actual audience scores itself, which has a 5.4. And we're not going to look at the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, because the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes is absolutely abysmal. They'll give a Disney movie a 97% if they released it in theaters. It's hiding the real audience score away from everybody else. That's why a movie like Cruella has a 97%. But this movie is not as bad as other DCEU movies, such as Birds of Prey and Suicide Squad, which really shows you how bad the Suicide Squad universe truly is. I would put it the same score as Justice League, where they gave Justice League a couple years ago a 7 out of 10. So yes, this movie is basically the same score as Justice League, another movie that everybody hated. Oh, and there was also Batman v Superman being the only outlier as well. So, but they're still making a third movie despite this being a flop. But they were surprised to say it's because of the pandemic, and they're gonna make a sequel anyways. So, good luck on the third movie. And now we only have one DC movie, and that is the stubborn Zack Snyder Justice League. For some reason, that movie has been hiding itself from me all this time. But eventually, I will get to you and I will watch you. Goodbye.